You become connected with a person and choose to intertwine your soul, taking a leap of faith, hoping you made the right decision, putting your heart on the line, believing that the union will be forever. All at once, the cracks in the facade begin to show through, even though there were hints and evidence in the past, always believing that the incidents were isolated and random. One day, the monster shows their full face, and the reality of the situation is all around. Every person has a dark side they hide from the world. Some characteristics are minor inconveniences that we accept because of love. Others are deep, dark places that negate the possibility of ever being forgiven. I'm Kevin Donaldson, always here with Mike Felice, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, please comment, ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content, and now you can join. And of course, share us out to everybody, because it really helps us out with the algorithm. Then you can go and follow us on all social media to find out what we're up to when we're up to it. On this episode of the Suffering Podcast, we have one of my very, very dear friends. So in the comment section, please be very, very kind to him, because I will fire back. And that's Salvatore Pocha. And we're going to discuss the suffering of domestic abuse. So the thing about Sal is he has gone and done something that very, very few men ever have the guts, the resilience, and the ability to do, and that is fight back. Sal, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Before we get into anything, let's throw a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody as police, and we certainly don't trust anybody as podcasters, but we do trust the guys over at Toyota Hackensack. So if you're looking for a car, go to toyotahackensack.com and let them find you a car, but also tell them the Suffering Podcast sent you. So Sal, each week we take a question from our audience. This question comes from T Recall 47. Throughout our life and throughout our younger years, we're taught many lessons. They're imprinted in us since we were young. And then as adults, we have to sort of pivot, whether it's a verb, whether it's a phrase, or whether it's a mannerism, and we have to unlearn that stuff. Sometimes it's very hard to unlearn. So to this day, what is something that you are still unlearning from your past?
I find that to be a very difficult question, and I've pondered it, and I don't know if there's anything that I would unlearn. I mean, I'm a trusting person, and I feel that you should give trust to get trust. So to unlearn something, I don't know.
So your trust, and we're going to get into that particular issue. And I've known you for quite some time now, and I know that you always give everybody the benefit of the doubt, sometime to my own aggravation. But that trust thing, it's one of those things where if you give it freely and you give it a lot, it will eventually be taken advantage of. Now, I don't know if that's a good. I guess it's a good thing. It is on the surface a very, very good thing, but it leaves you open and vulnerable. I don't know if that's something that. I don't even know if that's something that you can unlearn.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, you have to have strength from within to know when people have reached your point to say enough.
I just read something today that says, my lack of trust in somebody whom I used to trust is not about me hating them. It's not about me thinking poorly of them. It's about me putting up a boundary and saying, no, you've crossed that line. I have to put up this boundary now because you've taken advantage of me too long. So for me, I didn't grow up the best. I grew up in a house that there's a lot of abuse, emotional, physical, sexual, all sorts of stuff. And so when I come to, the holiday season that has just passed, and I just spoke about this on Instagram Live, in most of my adult life, I've viewed Thanksgiving, I've viewed Christmas, I've viewed Easter as very negative experiences for one reason or another. So as I got into relationships and as I met my wife and had a family and all that stuff, I had to unlearn that behavior of the holidays are not a negative experience. They're a positive experience. But if that's all like if every day I came up and punched you in the arm, every single day, and I said, hey, how you doing, Sal? And I punched you in the arm. Well, one day I come up to you and I don't punch you in the arm. Well, you're going to think, because it's been happening for so long, you're going to think something's wrong. because that's all you're used to. So that's all I was used to growing up. And I've had to unlearn that the holidays are not a negative experience. They're actually a very positive experience, but I have to find some joy, my own type of joy. The grace that others give me is that time and that ability to work through those things and unlearn that negative experience from the past. So T Recall 47, thank you for sending that question in. Keep sending in your questions and we'll try to get you on the air. Don't forget to go to thesufferingpodcast.com and get yourself our proprietary brand of coffee, and that's Dented Ace Coffee, brought to us by the boys at Freedom Bear Coffee. Each bag, 100% of the proceeds go to Dented Development Project to help repair dents in first responders and their families, as well as veterans and their families, just to give them a little help along. So you'll be helping a good cause, and it's fantastic coffee. So Sal, listen, I spent a lot of time with you. And I've grown to love you like a brother. When I travel, you live so close to my house that when my house is blowing up and I'm in California, I'm in Missouri, I'm like, hey, Sal, I'm sorry to do this. Is there any way you can do this? And you've always been that guy, so I appreciate you. But why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, a little bit how you grew up?
I grew up and my parents were very much unlike your own, as I know. My parents were a very loving couple. I mean, mom and dad did everything for each other and sacrificed everything for their 5 children, my brothers and I. And it was just an example of what goodness and kindness was. I don't really recall any particular time that there was a night that they didn't sleep together or weren't loving to each other. I mean, maybe that's why I have that trusting feeling of people that I give them the ultimate break until it breaks. Because mom and dad were incredible.
Now, your father was a true greenhorn, too, from Italy?
Absolutely.
And do you think that, so you have 2 types of Italian people in this, especially in the New York, New Jersey area. You have those that think they should have been cast in The Sopranos, okay, that have gumads and all that stuff. And then you have the ones from the old country who keep the old values in there. And you're like that as well. Do you think that was a leftover thing from your father coming straight from Italy?
Well, Dad was, I would probably say, one of the most honorable, very intelligent men that I've ever known. I mean, his gift of life was brilliant. He was very smart in his own way and very loving. I mean, you couldn't have found a better guy to be your father.
Now, I know this story here, and I want you to talk about how much, and it's almost disgusting to hear because it's not the way I grew up. It's actually very beautiful, but it's tough to listen to it sometimes. Your mother actually gave up a lot to be with your father.
When Mom went to Italy in the olden archaic days, she was supposed to meet another gentleman. She did not like him, wasn't attracted to him whatsoever. Within 6 months, my mother and father were married. Her father, her family disowned her completely. Even upon my grandfather's deathbed when Mom was there, he didn't want to see her. I mean, can you live through that?
I don't think there's ever a time that I would not want to see my children.
Neither would I.
Yeah. The cool thing about that is if you're a religious man and you go through biblical scripture, you'll see that once you get married, your spouse is now your primary, and the family you grew up with is now your secondary. It doesn't make them less important.
Right,
it's just something that happens. And your mother was willing to give it all up for this man who she's taking a shot, right?
Yeah. Well, Mom absolutely gave up everything because when they came back from Italy, there was nothing left to be held. I mean, the family here, where they were expecting support because the family is pretty wealthy. I mean, they were pretty well-to-do in the time of the Depression. And they came back to being treated like a tenant and a laborer in the father's big companies that he had.
Did your grandfather on your mother's side not like your father?
I don't think that he didn't like him. Maybe he didn't like the thought that his daughter married someone else other than what he had wanted, which who knows what kind of thoughts or dealings were associated with it. We'll never know. We don't even know that individual's name, what it might have been.
I'm wondering, because I was wondering if it was like a status thing. You know, your father did very well, But your father was blue collar. Your father was
Yes.
a worker.
Yep.
Well, maybe this other guy was more aristocratic. It was more the caste system. I'm just trying to figure out what makes a father disown his daughter?
That I can't understand, that I'll never understand it, because for myself, my own daughter, it would never come to that.
Now, here's just a what-if scenario. What if the marriage between your parents didn't work out? Your mother gave up everything.
Yes, she did.
Okay, and if it didn't work out, that's kind of a big meatball to sit on.
It would have been, but fortunately, it didn't work out that way. It worked out to be gold. Dad worked hard day and night and really did well, and Mom worked as hard with Dad to make it happen.
Now, I know your mother had passed. Your mother passed early. She passed young.
Very early.
And for somebody who has lost somebody who was that close, who was by their side the entire time, this beautiful model for their children. And listen, I'm pretty sure your parents had one hobby, and it wasn't watching TV, because you have a gaggle of you. There's the whole gang. But to lose somebody that young. How old was your mother when she passed?
64.
She was 64. She barely made it to the Beatles song. What did that do to your father?
My father was really emotionally hurt. At that point, I decided to build my home, and it channelized Dad's energy into doing something positive. Not only that, but my father had become a paraplegic from a terrible accident that he sustained. A year later, my mom dies.
So, see, I didn't know that was I knew both of those things happened,
Yeah.
but I didn't know that was a chain of events. So your
That was
mother
a
actually,
chain.
your mother actually had to take care of your father as a
It
paraplegic?
was about a year and a half, but there's 5 of us, and we each pitched in to help Dad as much as we could. So my home being behind my father's, I was there in an instant. My brother lived basically across the street. My sister came every day too. So it wasn't Mom at 63 or 64 having to care for all of Dad's needs. And we had each been trained at the Kessler Rehabilitation Center, so we all knew his physical needs, his needs for startup and such like that.
The funny thing about somebody like your father, and I've heard you talk about your father with such reverence over and over again, and he was a very strong and stoic man, even as a paraplegic.
Yes.
I've heard some of the stories. So he's had 2 events that would break most men. Okay, he lost the love of his life, and then
Yes.
first becoming a paraplegic, losing his strength, and that's emasculating to a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Having your kids have to take care of you with all the things that entails, some of them not very pleasant.
Exactly.
And that would have broken most men. But for some reason, he got through it. And
Yeah.
if he got through it, and unless he was Superman, that means others can get through it.
Absolutely. I've often said to you, I wish there could have been one of those shows to come and see what Dad did. Not for him. He had no desire to be a champion or wear a medal, but for the next guy that this happened to, or gal, you can do it. My father cut his own lawn. He drove his own car. He picked up our children at school. He went shopping. He was a champion. He did it all and didn't want to ask anyone to do anything for him.
Tell the leaf bag story.
Yeah,
the leaf bag
the
story is my favorite.
Story is incredible.
That's
folks.
my favorite one.
My father decided that season he was going to rake the front lawn himself. And it's about maybe 150 feet by about 200 feet wide.
It's a big lawn.
It's a huge lawn. And he was filling the leaf bags as he could. And at lunchtime, I would come, and whatever he didn't pick up in the line, like a windrow, I would bag. But I didn't do that at all. He wanted to do it all. He would pick them each up. And folks, we had a gasoline-powered golf cart that I drilled a hole through the gas pedal and put a handle into it. If you're a golfer, you let up on the gas, comes to a stop. He brought each leaf bag to the corner for our guys to pick up from our services. Well, they were red tagged that they couldn't be lifted and too heavy. He called the director there. The director comes to his house, and the guy says to him, "Well, Mr. Pocha, these bags are too heavy for the guys to lift." And my father got into a rage and said to him, "What do you got, girly boys there?" He picked the bag up and threw it at him. The leaves kind of came out of the one bag and got on the guy's shirt. And he said, "Do you want me to call the newspapers that a paraplegic can do it and your guys can't pick them up and put them in the truck?" The man later called me and was excited and said to me, your father threw the bag at me? I said, how could that handicapped man have done that to you when our guys couldn't have lifted him to put him in the truck?
Maybe it's the old school mentality, but a lot of it is there are certain people who get into your father's situation and they get into a woe is me type of situation.
Yeah, they cave in.
All right. And we know a mutual person who that actually happened to. They had a bad event happen to them, and we watched them just sort of crumble internally. Then there's the other ones where they're going to say, well, F you, I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to show them what's possible. I may be in this chair. However, doesn't mean I can't still do things.
Exactly.
So you had this model of two people who loved each other. You had a model of a father who was resilient and strong, probably stronger than most on things that would have broken him. So you had to be like, this is what you think marriage is. In today's society, it's the unicorn. It doesn't happen anymore. Are you ready to enhance your skills and provide the best care to those who need it the most? I'm Kevin Donaldson.
I'm Sherry Alsip. Our trauma-informed training is here to help, and we've been traveling across the country delivering this essential need to departments and organizations of every size, shape, and makeup.
We come to you with on-site training so you don't have to worry about travel or scheduling conflicts.
This isn't just a class, it's an interactive experience. You'll learn directly from subject matter experts who teach from a victim's point of view, putting you in the shoes of those who have experienced trauma.
This approach allows you to understand trauma on a deeper level and to better serve the individuals you work with.
We'll guide you through new interview techniques that prioritize a victim-centered approach, ensuring safety and empathy in every conversation.
And for those of you in law enforcement or other fields, our training includes post-credits, giving you the extra added value and recognition for your commitment to professional growth.
We offer references upon request to show just how effective our training can be.
Don't miss the opportunity to improve your understanding of trauma and make a real difference in the lives of those you serve. Get in touch with us today by going to sherryalsip.com and let us bring trauma-informed training to your organization.
Together, we can make a lasting impact.
So going into your first serious relationship, was this just like, this is where I'm going?
There was a few beginning relationships that I had with women, of course. And then I met my children's mother, and that I thought was going to be the greatest thing forever. But unfortunately, it didn't wind up that way.
So it ended in divorce.
Yes.
Okay. And I know you got two beautiful children out of it who I know very, very well, and they are wonderful people. They're very well-adjusted people. So you have this model of marriage, this model of trust and love and all of these good things. When your first one fell apart, was it, do you think that was a slight, did you feel like it was a slight on you that you couldn't live up to this? Because look, you have a very high bar that's being set for you. Internally, what's going on in here?
Well, I felt the weight of the world on myself once I felt where it was going. And then how should I explain this? Finding out the ultimate truth freed me of the weight of it immediately. It was as though 1,000,000 tons was lifted off my shoulders. Because the truth, as they say, is the truth, and that's what it is. Sets you free.
So less than ethical marital behavior. We'll leave it at that. And now, how long were you married in your first marriage?
It was just about 19 years.
So 19 years is that's a long time to be married. And now all of a sudden you're thrust out into this world of being single again. I had to feel like, you hadn't dated in 19 years.
True.
So what was different? What changed from when you were younger?
At that point, when I began to, let's say, redate, there were so many people that were already far divorced longer than I. I remember one evening, an occasion, I was in town and went to a diner to meet this woman, and we began to talk about things, and she began to ask me how I would feel if it was acceptable for someone to step out of their marriage. And she looked at me and she said something along those lines, and I said, well, it wouldn't happen with a person like me. And she simply said, you can go home now. I reached for my wallet to pay for the check, which was simply just coffee. and a couple of slices of pie. And she put up her hand, Kevin, and said, "Just please go."
I don't know. So she wanted that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she did.
So just a little dirty secret about the town. We both live in the same town.
Of course.
Just a dirty little secret that I've come to know over probably the past 7 or 8 years is there's a very large hidden swinger community in our town.
Oh, yeah.
And how I found this out was I was in my day job. I was doing a project, and this old woman she'd come by. She was original owner of one of the houses. She's probably 85 years old, something like that. And she would just, nice woman, just come and talk and say, you know, how's it going? And she knew everybody. She was, you know, she was the town mother. And well, a friend of mine, when she passed, a friend of mine bought her house. And as they're demoing the downstairs, they find this little cubby hole and they find pictures. And they're from the 70s or something. And I've seen these pictures. And they're having swinger parties.
I'm sure.
I was like, this.
Yeah.
And I go, there she is. That's her.
It's probably happened since mankind started to walk.
I guess so. But what is it about monogamy that appeals to your behavior, to your personality?
I guess, as you know me, I need to see this face in the mirror each day. And knowing that I was truthful and honorable and did the same kind of things that are the right things. I mean, you've often heard me say, like the Knights of the Round Table, that's what you have to do, the right thing.
And I know you well enough to know that you don't judge people who do that. It's just not somebody who you would want to get involved with.
No.
It's not your cup of tea. But, you know, you're getting back out in the dating world, and you had your first marriage, you had your trust broken. How hard was it for you to regain trust? Like, you had to be a little bit leery of everybody.
Well, not as much as you think, because until someone fails or breaks that trust, that's when it's off.
You are forever the optimist.
Absolutely.
You are forever the optimist on those things. All right, so you start dating, and then you know, was there a couple? Was there some that just caught your eye that said, hey, maybe this is the one?
Well, there were a few. I mean, I was set up with a lady from a friend. I go to meet her one evening at a restaurant up on Route 10. After she had consumed 7 glasses of wine, and I barely drank at all, we leave. We're outside under the canopy where she says to me, "Would you like me to come to your place?" And I had already absolutely decided no. And then she invites me to her place, and I said to her, "Well, I need to be at work at quite an early morning. Wouldn't be fair of me to do that and just suddenly leave."
Meanwhile, there's some guy in the background slapping his forehead going, "Oh, Sal."
She was an attractive woman, but the thought that she was 7.5 glasses into her drink was enough for me. As she started to scream at me, "What's your problem?" And I put my hands behind my back like a military man at ease and took one giant step back, another couple approached us. And that gentleman's lady said, "What did he do to you, hun?" She turns and snaps at her and says something, you know, it's very rude language. I won't use it here. "Mind your own business, blank. This is my guy. What do you want another?" And that lady said something to her, and her and her husband or boyfriend went into the restaurant. She turned and followed behind her. I ran to my truck and was hitting almost 75 miles an hour on Route 10, which is a 50-mile-an-hour zone, because I just wanted to get home lightning fast. Even when I drove in my garage at home, I pushed a button on the garage door opener to shut the lights off, and I looked out the window, and I thought to myself, how could she possibly be pursuing me? As well as she didn't even know my address.
But you get scared.
Well, I was concerned about it, you know, and didn't want her bothering me whatsoever. Then in the morning, the text messages began, and all of them were, "I apologize, I was nervous in meeting you, but you know what? A person consuming that alcohol like that is not that nervous. They're just consuming and didn't need it."
I had that happen once where I was dating a woman, and I was traveling. All right, it was a long, long time ago. I was traveling, and this is the days I had a cell phone, but no, I never gave my cell phone. It was for work only. So when I get home, and I was only gone 3-4 days, there was 25 messages on my machine and getting progressively more aggressive. And so finally, I'm standing there, and as I'm listening to all these, I'm getting more and more agitated until the phone rings. I pick up the phone. It's back in the days when it was only wall phones. I pick up the phone, and she says, where the F have you been? Now, she knew I was traveling.
Yeah.
Where the F have you been? How come you didn't call me? And I said, because I was over your mother's house, and please don't call me again. So those crazies are out there, like, male and female. I'm not just picking on women, but male and female, the crazies are out there. When you enter in the dating pool, especially 19 years in, so you were what, 40, almost 40?
Yeah, approximately like that, couple years plus or minus.
So there's a reason some people get divorced.
Of course.
You know, not everybody has a bad beat.
That's true.
Some people are the cause of their own demise. So what you're dating? Was there another one that stuck out that you'd want to move forward with?
Let's respectfully call her X2.
All right, we will refer to her as X2 because I want to be able to air this show.
A friend introduces me to her, a fellow gentleman that happens to be a police officer, and tells me she's a great woman. Well, you know, I was very excited.
He still feels bad about that to this day because I know who introduced you.
I know he does.
And he still feels bad about that to this day.
It's not his responsibility, and I don't hold him whatsoever to blame. None.
He just, every time he mentions, he's like, I feel so bad. I poor Sal had to go through all that stuff.
Yeah.
So what was it about her specifically that caught your eye?
I think I found her to be exciting, and I thought I had found a reasonably responsible person.
This is an interesting episode. I'm going to tell you why, because I know all the players,
of course,
in this story.
Every one of them.
Yeah, I do, and I've never had that when I was in here. I didn't know all the players of most people's stories. This one, I know all the players.
Yes, indeed.
So she was exciting. She's vastly different than you.
Much different.
Yeah. What was exciting about her?
Her attitude, the things that she did. I mean, you know, just that inner kind of, let's say, innerness I found attractive, exciting.
And, you know, she was easy on the eyes.
True, but the eyes are just something simple.
Yeah. So you start dating this woman. The first couple dates, how long was it good?
The dating period was about, I think that was almost 6.5 years. Maybe it was 7. Then I had asked her to be engaged, and we moved it up a little quicker. And shortly thereafter, of course, as you know, we were married.
During that 6-year courtship, was there ever any signs that something was a little off?
She was, I would say, a spirited woman in the point that, you know, sometimes she'd get very hot. And, you know how I am, that I could probably walk through fire and it wasn't too big of a deal to me. And, but upon the engagement, it seemed like that wild attitude had settled. I actually thought many a times that with the engagement, maybe she felt peace in knowing that with this engagement ring, this man truly does say he loves me and he'll be my guy. So I think she had what I'll call a settlement period where she settled maybe within herself or her spirit.
Did you ever find out what she saw in you?
I never even asked her.
Because I know she had some tumultuous relationships prior.
Yes.
But in you, safe, stable, level-headed, calm, and I know one of them. I don't know them, but I know who they are. One of them was a really bad guy.
Yes, yeah.
The battles we fight are hard and taxing on the soul. Fighting a battle that seems impossible to win. The stressful calls that give us wounds that cannot be seen.
These moments leave scars. They leave dents. Sometimes we just need to sit and talk over coffee.
finding a moment of peace in the comfort of decompression with those whom you share difficulties, sharing moments with those who are the only ones who understand. Our peace comes in the quiet moments we can share with our brothers and sisters.
It's just a moment to sit, listen, and let it out. We may be dented, but we are not broken. The Suffering Podcast. Dented Ace Coffee was created to bring the peace to the protectors. Dented Ace Coffee is a tribute to my brother Mike Felice and all the others who couldn't find their peace. 100% of the proceeds will go directly to Dented Development Project so that we can begin to repair the dents caused by suffering in veterans, first responders, and their families. The Suffering Podcast's Dented Ace Coffee. Get yours today by visiting thesufferingpodcast.com. As a matter of fact, one of them actually explored the opportunity of getting rid of her.
Yes, I understand that too. Yes. I didn't come to any of these things until thereafter the marriage because I didn't feel the need to research them. I trusted.
Yeah, well, when you saw, like, are we okay saying that?
Yes, go right ahead.
Because it's public record.
It's completely public record.
One of her ex-husbands who has a criminal past, let's say, actually put a hit out on her.
Well, that was their life together. It wasn't part of mine, but hey.
Now, again, going back to that same woman who cursed you out in the parking lot that one day, there's some reasons why people get divorced.
Yes.
I say this about several different people who've exhibited bad behavior within their marriage. I'll say something to this effect where I don't condone what they do. I understand it. With this particular woman, I certainly don't condone it. I understand the point, the point where he got to with her, just knowing her. I don't think anybody should be killed or anybody should die. So, but I'm like, okay, well, this is why. This is why. Now, the times when she exhibited that behavior, the bad behavior, prior to the engagement, were you able just to look past it?
I looked past it. I was forgiving of it. I trusted her in the fact that she said these things wouldn't continue. She would change. And frankly, again, let's reflect back to the engagement. When we did become engaged, she seemed to have, let's say, settled in and settled down. Maybe the fact that she met someone that wasn't going to be at times violent, because I don't think there's any violence in me. Of course, we can all be pushed to a corner and prodded, and then it comes out, but you have to be in control. We're not the Incredible Hulk. We control our behavior and we control our actions. That's why we have brains.
So was there ever a time during the courtship that you guys called it quits and then reignited?
There was a brief moment where she had called it more quits than I just kind of said, let's see what happens. And, I had gone on, and shortly thereafter we had reconnected.
Looking back in hindsight, 2020, is there any point in that courtship where you should have said, no?
Well, looking back, of course, we all have the brilliance of having lived through it, so we can make that statement. No, I wouldn't have.
Oh, you would have still continued down that same road.
Wow.
Oh. Even with just behavior alone.
Yeah. Because
I had seen her behavior firsthand. And I was like, wow, okay. All right. Well, whatever. So you get married. Now, after you get married, you're both, so you were probably bordering on 50 or?
Approximately. Yeah, sure.
And it was 2016. If I'm not mistaken. What was the marriage like? What was the beginning stages?
I'm going to tell you, year one of the marriage. Have you ever seen the show with Elizabeth Montgomery where she was bewitched?
Oh, yeah.
And she jumps into her husband's arm as a cat and becomes this beautiful woman and is nice and wonderful. Year one, I will tell everyone the truth was year one was incredible. It was great. It was loving. It was fantastic. There wasn't a whole lot of twisted anything going on. But year two comes along, it was like a leaf of a page turned over, and it was just the opposite.
I remember we had many conversations, and certain things were starting to happen within the marriage, and I know they were weighing heavily on you. Have you so you had no experience with this type of behavior towards you?
None.
So what was your initial reaction when she would get aggravated, agitated towards you?
Well, as you know me from where we work and whatsoever and all the things we do, you know my main thing is ultimate calm.
Mm-hmm.
And my shield is strength of patience and calm. So when she would act erratic, I would just kind of absorb and maintain my calm. She would eventually come out of it and go back to her normal behavior. But things became, as you would understand, rougher.
I think a lot of times with people such as her, X2, that have that behavior in them in order to just be aggravated and angry and things of that nature, I believe they're looking for anger in return.
Yeah.
So the fact that you didn't feed into her anger, I think unfortunately might have made it worse.
It possibly could have. I mean, at one point I said to her, because there was an incident and it became pretty strong on her part, whereas I said to her, if we don't see a specialist for help for us immediately, I'm filing for divorce on Friday afternoon. And she immediately found a professional for us to see. This professional I later on met a short while over and brought her what turns into the police report. And she says to me, you don't really realize what my expertise was. And she stated it was substance abuse and it was these kind of violent people behavior and all of that. And she says, I have to admit, the first few times I met you, I thought you were either the best con man in the world, or I thought you were truly supportive and being there for your wife, which proved to be the fact.
Mm.
I mean, I wanted to save her, help her, love her. And if I could have brought her along through it, we could have probably worked things together, but it just became worse.
I think the damage was there long before you.
Oh, no doubt.
So we're here to talk about domestic abuse. Now, one of the things about domestic abuse is when I say that word, everybody thinks it's a man hitting a woman. Everybody thinks about that, but there's a problem. Men get abused too.
Absolutely.
All right, we were having this discussion as I was filling the guys in on a little bit of what we're going to talk about tonight. I said, and one of the guys in there, I said, just imagine if your wife comes up and just cold cocks you right in the jaw. All right, what are you going to do? And the answer was, and it's a good answer, was I would hold them. I'll hold them tight. I said, well, listen, if I'm an arriving police officer and I come in and I watch you holding this person and restraining this person, and maybe there's a scratch that gets on her arm, guess what? You're both going to jail. You got this welt on your chin, you're both going to jail.
Yes.
So what are you going to do? You can't hit a woman. You're going to jail if you do that. So when was the first time that there was any type of physical violence with you?
Well, it started off small in the beginning period of the second part of the marriage of the second year. It was a little hit here, a kick there. I mean, one in particular incident, I'm washing the dishes, and she comes in and kicks me in the middle of my back. The dish breaks in the sink, and she goes out of the room. She comes back later like it never happened.
Why did she kick you in the back?
I have no explanation why.
She wanted to try her best Chuck Norris moves?
I have no idea.
It's just so random. She was, I do know that this woman would occasionally kick a cat. So I think it would be harder to kick a cat than it is a human being. But that was the first time you actually got struck?
It might not have been the first time, but that was quite a memorable occasion, if you could understand what I mean by memorable occasion.
Yeah.
Another time was I would go out for a walk each morning before sunrise, and she was furious that I would not add her automobile to my insurance plan because we had a prenuptial agreement, and for the purpose of protecting her heirs and my heirs for whatever I had earned and saved as well as her, I absolutely wanted to sign it for her just as I expected her to sign it for me, simply because I didn't need the things that she had saved from her lifetime of work for her children and for her grandchild. At that time, she only had one, and I didn't want them. And I was happy to sign with what was hers to keep.
Was the prenup her idea or yours?
Mine, but it was a joint thing. You know, I had a few more assets than her and just wanted to protect what I had worked so hard for my children.
And it's not like you're going to have children. It's not like you're going to have any dual.
No, we were in our mid-50s or whatever
Right.
we were. It wasn't time for children any longer. It was time to have a celebration of life and go into your older years and enjoy each other's grandchildren.
Because usually, like if a young guy tells a girl, I'm going to get a prenup, that's usually the kiss of death for most. Now, the prenup, I do know that I remember you telling me that you were so kind to even pay for the prenup.
I gave her directly the money for her attorney.
How much? If you don't mind me asking.
That was $2,500, I believe.
Okay.
Just because I said to her, you have to have your attorney check it. I didn't know anything much about it. I saw it with my attorney, and he said he had to find her own attorney. When she told me she did not have the money for it, I immediately wrote the check and said to her, here's the money. Go.
Okay. Since it's your idea, I think, you know what, if it was your initial idea, even though it was mutual, I think you're doing the honorable thing.
Right. I had wrote some concepts down on a sheet of paper, nothing formal. It was just notebook paper with some of my notes.
Now, what'd you find
Gave
out?
it to her.
After I know we're jumping a little ahead. We'll come back. During the eventual divorce proceedings, what did you find out about that prenup?
Well, with the prenup that we had found out, first part of her lawsuit against me was that I had forced her into it and that I had coerced, and I forget what the other extraordinary word is, like put a gun to her head. No, not whatsoever. But we found out that she was stating that my attorney had drafted the entire thing, and we proved to the court that she had in fact had drafted it.
Wasn't there a discrepancy in the money as well?
Which money?
The $2,500. It didn't cost $2,500.
Oh no, she had, because she was into the legal scene, she drafted the thing herself and demanded from her prenup attorney that she return the monies to her.
Really? So she pocketed your money?
She pocketed the money.
Oh, that's wonderful.
She didn't return that money to me.
No, why would she?
But you know what, Kevin? It was only money anyhow. If I'd have never known about it, so what? But
it solidifies your decision.
But the truth came through to being what it was.
You know, it's because I imagine there's moments of doubt. Could I have worked harder? Did I do something here? But when you hear something like that, you're more along the lines of saying, I made the right move.
Of course.
So you had the kick in the back, and the escalation of it. So did it escalate from there, or did it pretty much stay consistent with that?
It continued to grow here and there, more tension. On another kind of strange occasion, because it is violently domestic. And, you know, these things shouldn't be happening in our society of today. We're on the public street, main highway through Parsippany, where she had started to scream at me, and it was about maybe 6:45 in the morning. And I said to her, hey, it's a summer day. You can yell at me all you want at home, not here in the middle of the street. So I began to walk away from her, and there she stood. All of a sudden, I hear her feet up, running up behind me. She leaped up on my back with her legs around my chest and had me in a reverse chokehold. I immediately felt it was coming, and I put my arm between my throat and her hands. I had been to some training classes years ago, and they teach you never yell help, never yell rape, never yell anything like that. The thing to yell is fire. People will come out of the woodwork to watch the firemen come, watch the fire trucks come, because there's something so exciting about the firemen that is top of the line. She breaks the hold and takes off running.
She ran. Well, she knew
she ran back to the house.
She knew she screwed up.
When I got home, I walked in the kitchen. Her eyes were like a zombie staring at the wall. And I said to her, you have to go someplace tonight. Something's wrong, seriously wrong between us, and you cannot stay here.
What do you think's going on in her head? Like, if you had to have some sort of theory, because something's going on.
Something was really going on, and I can't even begin to imagine it because it's not something I ever thought about. What was going on?
Was there alcohol involved?
Not that morning. It was first thing in the morning. I mean, sometimes she would have alcohol later on, or when we go out for dinner, she would almost sometimes polish off a whole bottle of wine, and maybe I might have an ounce, maybe 2 ounces. That was my limit. but she would finish off whatever was left in my glass.
Any other substances that she was taking, medications?
Well, at the point in which, after the domestic violent assault, and she was arrested one night, it was December 14th of 2018, and the police had to come to our home. And as you know, she was pounding me. Ladies and gentlemen, she was holding me with her left hand and pounding me with her right hand.
Walk us through that night.
Okay.
Start from the beginning. Start from how it started.
All right. She had come home from her company Christmas party, but her and the girls went somewhere else between getting home and from the party. And as soon as she came in, I could smell the strong scent of alcohol on her breath. And I just wanted to have calm and quiet. It was an evening. I was home watching television. And she came in already hot as a firecracker. She was in a rage, screaming and yelling and starting to pursue me around the island of our kitchen.
Like Ring Around the Rosie type of thing?
Exactly, like I'm chasing you to get you.
Wow. She turned from the bewitched to bewitched.
Yeah. Our 25-year-old son lived in our home. He intercedes with us. And he says to her, "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?" And I said to her, I won't say his name. He was a nice young man. He says to her, "You're drunk. You got to sleep it off." And he starts to talk to her. She's getting outrageous with him. Finally, she goes up and goes to sleep. He leaves to go to a Christmas party that he was going to. And she comes downstairs hotter than the first round in a massive rage. She doesn't want me sleeping in the bedroom. She doesn't want me upstairs. I said, "Okay, I just want to get my medicine and I'll come downstairs and sleep on the floor, sleep on the couch." It didn't bother me. If the evening had ended that way, it would have ended that way and things would have been a do-over the next day. It didn't. When we went upstairs to get the medicine and all, she ran into our closet and came out with a wooden coat hanger like she was going to beat the dog. She flung that coat hanger across the room with force. I had already slipped out the bedroom door, and that's where she caught me at the top of the steps, holding me and pounding me. She was holding me with her right hand and pounding me in the face with her left.
And you have no idea why this happened.
Just firecracker anger, and it was just at me. Something twisted in her brains. So the whole time she's pounding me, of course, my lips split. I was bleeding at the nose. The blood was all over my shirt, my blood. I remember from some friends teaching me some moves because I had buddies like yourself that were trained and know stuff, that I began to spin like a top because her holding me with her right hand, if I would have spun counterclockwise, her hold would have only have supported me more. So I knew to spin the other way because her hand can't turn inside out to grab me. And I easily broke the hold and I spun as fast as I could. I remember her eyes looking at me like she was getting dizzy from it. But at that point, I escape. I go down the steps. I go out the front door. It was pouring rain that night and out into the middle of the street. And that's where I called 911.
You at this point, you got to sit and think to yourself, like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Just, I want some peace in my household here. Do you think there was ever any infidelity on her part?
I have no idea.
The reason I ask that is that rage and that anger sounds like she was ashamed at something that she did. Who knows? It's insane.
I can't even imagine what might have happened to her as a young girl or with her family or with other men whatsoever. I never needed to plunge into that because I just only wanted it to be us. I don't need to know about whomever's past that I'm with. It's not part of my life. What do I need to deal with it for?
But you entered into that relationship, because I know you pretty well by now, and you entered into that relationship saying, "Hey, this is me.
Yes.
I'm not changing. I will add you, but I'm not going to change." And where I saw this the most, just from my own personal experience that I observed, we were at a party together, and you and I are playing horseshoes with a bunch of other guys.
Oh, yes.
And she's up on the deck with the ladies. And I see you were on the opposite side as me. And I see her.
I recall that afternoon.
I see her walk up to you and I just see finger wagging.
Yeah.
Right? This is what I see. And I remember standing to the guy who we both know who was standing right next to me going, "Uh-oh, what did Sal do?" That's all I remember.
Yeah.
But think about the way I framed that. What did Sal do?
Exactly.
Because that's my thought process when it comes to domestic violence or any type of domestic abuse or any type of aggravation. It must be the guy's fault. He must have done something wrong.
Yeah.
What I come to find out later through speaking to the other people who were on the deck is I believe she wasn't the center of attention and got really pissed off and wanted to leave.
Who knows what set it off?
I remember looking at that going, oh my God. And she left and you stayed.
Here's a very sad thing that I'll add. When we'd go on vacation, Kevin, no matter where it would be, I would contact the name or have it in my phone, the nearest rental place, the closest airport. Because if she were to leave me somewhere, because on one occasion we were somewhere at a store, I won't go into where, and I turn around, she had a couple words for me, and I turned around, walked outside, she was gone. Because I paid for everything. The hotel was in my room. I wasn't the slightest bit upset or uncomfortable because I had done this so many times that in that second year, that I was ready. So I walk back to the hotel. I meet this very wonderful couple that I'm talking to. I remember them very well. We're sitting in front of the fireplace and having a wonderful conversation. They invite me to join them for dinner. Along comes my wife.
Only you.
Along comes my wife, and I introduce them to them. She's now herself again, instead of the Dr. Jekyll, Mrs. Hyde, let's call her kind of situation. And we join this couple for dinner. Well, at one point, she has to leave the room. I had no idea that she had consumed so much alcohol that when I went up to the room finally after dinner, she was completely drunk and at least not rageful. But in the point when I walked out of that nice little store we were in and the car was gone, and I walked maybe, I don't know, it could have been a half a mile back to the hotel. I wasn't the slightest bit excited. I was already calmed in preparing what I would have to do. I always had prepared an exit strategy in that second half of that second year because at any moment I expected to be somewhere stranded, especially if we drove her automobile.
So if you save the incident where you called the police, the one that we left off on.
Yes.
At what point would it have been bad enough for you to say, that's it, done? Is there something, if it continued the same way, if it continued to escalate, like at what point are you throwing in the towel?
When I came back in the house with 4 police officers, I have a hall tree in my foyer, and I turned to that hall tree and saw my face swollen and ripped up purposely because the diamond ring was pounding my skin. It ripped me up. And seeing all that blood on my shirt, I was divorced right then and there, immediately. In fact, when I had to go to the police department, because I thought when we went to the police department, I went in a police car, and I thought they brought you home because you're pretty excited. But the guy said to me, no, you have to drive your car to the police department. As I stepped up onto the step running board to get into my truck, I removed my wedding band, and there was a nail right there on the wall. And I reached over and hung it on the nail of that wall. And that's where it stood for another, I think it was 5 or 6 years. And I left it there in the garage because it was finished. Whether the law adjudicated me divorced or not, it was done.
Nobody deserves any of this stuff ever to get treated like that by their spouse. But I guess there's something in you that always holds out hope that, okay, we can get through this. We can fight through this. When some people just, it can't be fixed.
We reached that point and it was over.
Yeah.
And even more so that through the weekend, I had talked to my attorney because we had already prepared the papers from when she had jumped on my back that time. So everything was ready to go. He says to me, if you can go to court Monday to get a stronger restraining order, which I absolutely...
Oh, you didn't mention that. The restraining order was granted by the police, yeah.
Yeah, immediately by the police. And then Monday morning, because it happened over the weekend, I'm at the courthouse all day. The judge finally sees me at 4:30. But even funnier is when I first get to the clerk's office, which my attorney tells me opens at 8:30. I was online at 7:45 because I wanted to be the first one to immediately get in and get moving and get processing. Then I went to family services where, not that I'm a big guy, I'm much smaller than you are, but they looked at me there at that window and was like, oh yeah, go sit over there. Like immediately, I had the distinct feeling that I had immediately been labeled as the attacker.
Yeah, when you're telling the police about all this stuff, because there's a stigma attached to male domestic violence.
Oh, of course.
Is there anything in you that said that made you feel less than for reporting this? Like,
Absolutely not.
yeah,
Because
too many guys just stay silent.
too many guys hide it. Too many guys are afraid of it. Well, I didn't say much to anything of anyone really of any consequence during the year. At the point where she became so explosively violent, that was the end. And that's when everything came out because I was done.
There's drips and drabs that I heard over the years, and I obviously heard about the bad event. Now, and again, I'm going to tell you a little personal story here because it's actually kind of funny. She's out of the house and she has to come retrieve her things, and you couldn't stay there.
Yeah, I had to have chaperones, babysitter, of which you were one of them.
I was one of the chaperones. And now the one thing about me is, listen, you screw my friends, you're not looked at very favorably. I can't really do anything to you, but I certainly am not going to help you in any single way. And it was her, and she was there alone, and she knew who I was, and it was another one of our mutual friends sitting there. And we are actually having a good time sitting in the sitting area of your house, and we're talking, we're having a good time. And she's humping boxes out and stuff. She says, "Could you help me?" And I'm like, "Nope, can't do it.
No.
I cannot touch a thing. I'm here to observe only." It would break. What did I say? It would break the legal. I used some interesting term, but anyway, yeah, that kind of really got me mad. But I got mad at her for abusing you the way she did. Not only physically, physical abuse is actually the easiest one to get over. It's the emotional abuse that she put you through that really bothered me. Because prior to this incident, I saw the stress weighing on you, and you don't show your stress, but I saw it weighing on you over and over and over again. That night, how did your life change? Like, what did you see?
Well, I remember on that particular day that you're talking about with her carrying the box out when she had asked you to help, she had also said to you the question, could you please call Sal and ask him to give me more time? Because the judge had given her 3 days to clear everything from my home. And as per the law, after that, everything she walked out of the door with was mine to take to the dump if I so desired. And I remember the phone call you gave me, and you said, I absolutely wouldn't give her another minute. And if you recall what I said immediately, Kevin, I want her to carry out her own belongings. Who else is there helping? And you said to me, they all walked out on her. So whatever else had been going on with her and her family was unreal.
I think she realized that she made a huge mistake. Did she ever try to reconcile?
Oh my God, the amount of times that she had called me and texted me and left secret notes in the house, and when she had her occasions to move out. And of course, remember, I granted her more time to get out because I didn't need to keep her belongings. I didn't need them. I didn't want them. I just wanted them cleaned up, out, and gone. But after the massive assault, the most incredible thing was that I had received the very next morning was a text message from her son. He was a good, responsible young man, and I actually still like him and kind of miss him. He wrote me, Sal, this was not your fault. You did everything to this family nicely. You did everything that was good to this family. It happened. It's not your fault.
You're going to give this kid a beating. That's what you're going to get. I don't listen. It's so far removed now, but
that's probably maybe what he got from his mother for maybe a few months or whatever.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, you call the enemy and tell him that, but I wasn't the enemy.
She's definitely, I guarantee you at some point she said, I really screwed up. But now you're going through divorce proceedings. You have this prenup. It should be, you're both in your mid-50s, really no dual assets.
I expected us to act like adults, each of us, not just myself, her. And the fact to say, okay, something went awry between us. I didn't even say your fault, my fault. It's just time to go. We have to go our own ways. We obviously cannot cohabitate, or you can't cohabitate with me. and knowing myself and everything that I put into it. Because when I love a person and give them all that there is, it's not just for me, for her. It was everything for her family too. I mean, the things that I did for the family, and took care of them. I treated them as though I would have treated my own children. They needed something, I helped them.
And you have a pretty solid support structure around you in order to pick you up and surround you. You want to talk
Absolutely.
about circling the wagons. Your brothers and sisters, and I know every one of them, they circle the wagons around you, and I watch them protect you emotionally, not physically. Emotionally, I watch them protect you. I watched your friends really just do their best to lift you up, take you out, just make sure you're okay.
And how many people do you know that you would say to them, if I were to call you at 1 a.m., would you get out of your bed at 0 degrees to come to help me? I could probably rattle off 20 names in less than a minute of men and women that would get up and come to help me.
Well, you're that person.
I mean, who could say that they would know 5 people? And I feel sorry, folks, for saying that to you, because maybe you might start beginning to think, how many people are you going to actually call tonight, or think about who I would call? I don't think many people have, maybe 2, not counting their family. Forget about counting family.
Yeah. See, I would definitely curse you out, but I'd come.
Yeah, no, of course.
I'd curse you out. I'd be like, fucking Sal, damn. But I'd go. And you think it's going to be this easy peasy
I expect
divorce?
it to be civil, responsible, and adult-like, which it absolutely was far from it. I had to defend my pension, my home, the little bit of money that I had saved, and defend my life.
What was she asking for?
Initially, if I would have just paid her $50,000, she could have just left her. When we went into the Let's Make a Deal room, her in her room, me in my room with the attorney that they have as a mediator. And he comes back and says to me, well, for $50,000, you'll pay her and everything could be done pretty much wrapped up in a week or 2. And I said, and he says to me, what's your response, Sal? I said, well, my response is quite simply, I'll accept her $50,000 that she'll pay me. I said, I shall not yield to paying my abusive person. How do I go home and tell my son and my daughter that I paid this abusive person for beating me?
This is where the court systems, and how long did the divorce drag on for?
Well, I would say, we were divorced in the year 2022.
Okay.
And just this past summer, it came to a completion.
So 4 years worth of divorce proceedings.
Yes.
Okay. And this is where I'm going to call the justice system out here, and I'm going to call it as I say it here, because if it was a reverse situation where you were the attacker on her,
I'd have been imprisoned.
You would have been imprisoned.
Easily.
This divorce would have been relatively quick. You would have had a final restraining order against you. All your weapons would have been taken away. And that's where the dichotomy comes in the legal system.
Of course.
Most men in your position would have said, I'll pay her $5,000 just to make her go away. But that's not Salvatore Pocha.
Not at all. Most men, and I've read it multiple times, and not because I read it that I feel like I'm a champion. I'm not. But you know what? Truth. And it sounds stupid, like Superman saying it. Truth, justice, liberty in the American way. The American way is not beating your husband or beating your wife.
And then asking for money on top of it.
Absolutely. $50,000. I mean, I'm not a millionaire. Where would I have gone to get that money?
So you finally win. And what was the outcome?
The outcome was the courts absolutely had decided to make X2 pay me a portion of those monies. And they ruled that she had to pay me.
The poor cat got kicked again. Since that time, have you heard any allegory stories from people who know her, or she's just in the wind and disappeared?
I prefer never to listen to whatsoever of anything, and no one has shared anything with me because they frankly know that window is closed. That door has been nailed shut permanently. And I pray for the hopefulness that I'll never actually even have to see her anywhere ever again.
Now, do you carry any of this baggage on into your current life?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, with any new love interests or anything like that, any type of, because we all learn from our mistakes. And I hate to say this was a mistake. It was more of but those mistakes in life teach us the most. the fact that you're able to free yourself of that and not bring any of that baggage into a new relationship, again, like your parents, I do believe that you are the unicorn when it comes to that.
Listen, Kevin, I've told you many times, there was no way I was ever going to let her turn my heart black. It's not me. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a church-going man by any chance. Maybe I at church once or twice a year for a wedding or unfortunately a funeral, but I'm a spiritual guy and I do believe in God and I believe in angels, and by no means was this any type of a test of my character because I never failed. I acted as a good, honorable husband.
It's just an amazing testament to the type of person that you are. So I know you're light on social media because we're coming to the end of this thing here. Do you want to give out any of your social media or anything of that nature?
Well, I go on it maybe once a week, maybe every other week sometimes. Sometimes I don't bother with it for a month, but I'm out there.
Well, I know because of you, Sal, and I sat there and I lived through you through this whole thing, and it was because of you that I watched the entire Johnny Depp trial.
Yeah.
Because there was a guy who he wanted the truth, but he had the means to do it. Okay, and I was very interested in how it would come, especially I think they had it in Virginia or something like that. It was somewhere down south. And I was very interested because I had never really seen a guy stand up for the truth before. They usually just say, all right, whatever gets the aggravation done sooner. But that was because of you.
That's the majority of men want to cave in because they want to go about their life in peace.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I went about my life immediately as peaceful because I was free.
Yeah.
You know, the heaviness of it was gone.
So, Sal, I've watched you through this whole thing. I've watched you prevail in the face of just enormous odds against you, even though everything was done right. And I've watched you go through an enormous amount of suffering, even though you don't display it and you don't bring it into your current world, which is amazing. And I have to believe that's from your strong foundation. But that suffering that you went through, I end every show the same way. Suffering is our greatest teacher. Suffering teaches us the best lessons. Your suffering of domestic abuse with X2, what do you think that's taught you?
Well, each day I wake up, and you know me when I come in the morning. I mean, I hate to quote another super person, but when he feels that radiant yellow sun of our planet, it does nothing but make him stronger. That's me. I wake up in the morning and I see the sunrise, and it's a brand new day. Whatever I might have done wrong or incorrectly to yesterday, it's gone. I'm here today to do better and treat better and be better.
Yeah, sometimes you come in the morning and I'm not in a good mood or I'm tired or whatever. I'm like, damn, Sal, damn, you're just too chipper. It's too early. But Sal, listen, thank you so much for coming in. And very few people are willing to speak about this. And the silence is what's continuing this going on.
The amount of men at where we work and the sites that we work, where we work with very strong and powerful men, the amount of men that said to me, they would have snapped her neck. They'd have pounded her. And I say to them, listen, you're a dear friend. Why would you want to spend the rest of your life behind bars? Because in 1 second, you'd have pounded her and fell right into the trap. Strength is not about your biceps. Strength is about mind and control. It's not easy, but if you do it each and every day, it comes very easy.
Well, Sal, I have to commend you for your amazing resilience to stay the course in order to find that truth. And you've been one of my dear friends, and you're going to be one of my dear friends until the day that I die.
I greatly appreciate that, and I respect that.
All right, Sal, and that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, the suffering of domestic abuse with Salvatore Pocha. And let's think about all the stuff that we learn. Obstacles can hold you back or push you forward. There are some crazies out there. Domestic violence, whether it's man or woman, is domestic violence. Aggression often needs aggression to survive. Definitely do not fall into that trap, but most importantly, don't let a bad person turn your heart black. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount on your digital business card. Follow us on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, OnlyFans. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson, and of course, follow the Suffering Podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode.